Good afternoon, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. Welcome to part 2 of the Week 15 edition of the week that was, as we'll be looking at all 7 early games from Sunday. Part 3, which will be coming up after this, we'll look at the Sunday afternoon late games, Sunday Night Football featuring the Ravens and Jaguars, and Monday Night Football featuring the Eagles and Seahawks, plus my Week 16 power rankings and the updated playoff races in the NFL entering Week 16. Part 1 is already up right now. I recapped Thursday Night Football and the Saturday triple header, so if you want to check that one out, go right ahead and then circle back to this one. Okay, now that all the house cleaning's out the way, let's jump right into part 2 of our Week 15 edition of the week that was, and we'll end with a big upset from the NFC South as the Carolina Panthers win just their second game of the year, beating the Atlanta Falcons 9-7 on a last-second field goal. We'll start with individual numbers for the Panthers. Bryce Young, 18 of 24, 167 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 93.6 QB rating. I'm going to look this guy up. His last name. Okay. Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher for the Carolina Panthers. 22 rushes, 87 yards on 4 per run. Smith Marset, 4 for 31 on 7.8. Bryce Young, 4 for 9 yards on 2.3. Miles Sanders, 6 for 2 yards, 0.03 yards per run. On to the Panthers receivers led by Adam Thielen. 4 catches, 43 yards on 7 targets at 10.8 yards per catch. Then you've got Jonathan Mingo. 4 catches, 32 yards on 5 targets at 8 yards per grab. Then there's Tommy Tremble. 2 catches, 32 yards on 2 targets at 16 per catch. DJ Chark, 1 catch, 18 yards on 2 targets. Chuba Hubbard, 2 for 16 yards on 2 targets, 8 yards per catch. Sullivan, 1 catch, 14 yards on his only target. Miles Sanders, 2 for 11 yards on 2 targets, 5.5 per catch. And Smith Marset, 2 for 1 yard on 2 targets. On special teams, Eddie Pinheiro, 3 for 3 on extra points, or 3 for 3 on field goals. Longest is 34, and no extra points attempted. Johnny Hekker, 5 punts at 47 yards per punt. Longest is 53 with 1 touchback and 2 inside the 20. On defense, J.C. Horn led the Panthers defense with 5 tackles. Louisville, Gross Matos, and Jackson each had 3 tackles. Hill also had 3 goals plus a forced fumble. Thurman and Brown both with 2 tackles. Brian Burns, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense. Xavier Woods, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and 1 interception for the Panthers. For the Falcons, Desmond Ridder, 12 of 20 for 152 with 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a QB rating of 79.6. Leading rusher was Tyler Algier, 14 for 45 yards at 3.2 per run. Bijan Robinson was held in check, only 7 rushes for 11 yards at 1.6 per run. Desmond Ridder and Cordell Patterson, 5 rushes each for -2 yards, both averaging -0.04 yards per run. On to the Atlanta receivers. Smith, 2 catches, 61 yards on 2 targets at 30.5 per catch. Kyle Pitts, 3 catches, 37 yards on 4 targets, 12.3 per catch. Drake London, 2 for 24 yards on targets at 12 per catch. Hodge, 1 reception, 10 yards on 1 target. Fisk, 1 reception for 9 yards on 1 target. Tyler Algier, 1 reception, 6 yards on 1 target. Bijan Robinson, 1 catch for 3 yards on 3 targets. Cordell Patterson, 1 catch for 2 yards, and it goes for a touchdown. He was targeted 3 times. And Van Jefferson, no catches, but he was targeted once. All right. No field goals attempted for Younghoe Koo. He was 1 for 1 on extra points. Pinion with 5 punts, averaging 39.6 yards. Longest is 52, with 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Jesse Bates paced the Atlanta defense with 6 tackles. Landman had 5. Phillips and Ellis each had 4 tackles. Helms, 3 tackles. Harrison and Campbell, that's Calais Campbell, they both had 3 tackles and 1 sack apiece. And then Carter, Terrell, and London with 2 tackles apiece. Likewise for Jeff Okudah for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, total yards, 283 for the Panthers and 204 for the Falcons. Passing yards, 154 to 152 for Carolina. Rushing yards also favored the Panthers, 129 to 50. Time of possession, 33 minutes, 56 seconds for Carolina, 26 minutes, 4 seconds for Atlanta. First downs, Carolina with 17, Atlanta with 12. Third down conversions, 6 of 13 for the Falcons, 5 of 15 for the Panthers. Fourth downs, 0 for 1 for Atlanta and 0 for 2 for Carolina. The Falcons had 4 penalties for 25 yards, no sacks allowed, 1 fumble loss, 1 interception, and 5 punts. And the Panthers had 4 penalties for 35 yards. They were sacked 3 times, losing 13, with no fumbles lost, no interceptions, and they also had 5 punts. Closing line was Atlanta minus 2.5, and the over-under was 32.5. Took the Falcons both straight up and against the spread, lost both picks. So thus far, straight up is 3-2, and ATS is now 2-1. All right. Next, we got the Cleveland Browns, who most of the day against the Chicago Bears, wins the game in overtime 20-17. Now, Justin Fields, there's an interesting stat about him. Stick around for that. First, we'll look at the individual numbers for the Browns. Starting with Joe Flacco, 28 of 44, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 77.3. Dorian Thompson-Robinson completed his only pass attempt for the day, for 5 yards, and an 87.5 QB rating. All right, this is Jerome Ford. He's the running back for the Browns. He led Cleveland's rush attack, or lack thereof, with 8 rushes for 20 yards at 2.5 per run. And then Kareem Hunt, 7 rushes, 8 yards at only 1.1 per run. Strong, 2 for 2 yards, 1 yard per run. And Joe Flacco, 1 for -1. Now to the receivers. Amari Cooper, 4 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets at 27.3 yards per. David Njoku, 10 for 104 and a touchdown on 14 targets, averaged 10.4 per catch. Goodwin, 1 catch, 57 yards on his only target. Tillman, 4 for 52 on 8 targets at 13 a catch. Moore with 2 catches, 17 yards, and 3 targets on 8.5 per catch. Kareem Hunt, 1 reception, 12 yards on 1 target. Jerome Ford, 4 for 11 on 5 targets, 2.8. Atkins, or rather, Strong is 2 for 9 on 2 targets at 4.5 per catch. I was going out of turn here. Atkins, 1 catch, 8 yards on his only target. Bryant was targeted once, no catches. Okay, Hopkins, 2 for 2 on field goals. Longest was 34 yards and 2 for 2 on extra points. Bojorquez with 9 punts. He was a busy man. He averaged 43.3 yards per punt. His longest was 53. Now about 5 of his punts going inside the 20-yard line. That's impressive. Owosu Koromoa led the Cleveland Browns defense with 6 tackles, 1 sack, 2 passes defense, and an interception. Emerson, Tomlinson, and Taki each 4 tackles. Bell also had 4 tackles, plus a pass defense and an interception. Hickman, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Wright had 4 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Newsom, 4 tackles and 2 passes defense. Myles Garrett, 2 tackles. Harmon, 2 tackles and a pass defense for Cleveland. Moving over to the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields, 19 of 40, so not even 50% of his passes, for 166 yards with 1 touchdown and 2 INTs and a 46.5 passer rating. Okay, here's that stat I was going to tell you about with Justin Fields. I think he is the first quarterback since at least 2000, or the second quarterback since 2000, to throw Hail Mary passes at the end of the first half and at the end of the game. Of course, the last Hail Mary resulted in a Browns interception. So there's that. All right, leading rusher for the Bears is, give me a second, Roschon Johnson, Roschon, Roschon Johnson. 5 rushes, 36 yards on 7.2 yards per run. Justin Fields ran a little bit, 7 for 30 yards, 4.3. Jones, 2 for 23, 11.5 per run. Khalil Herbert, limited to 6 carries, 8 yards, and 1.3 yards per run. Scott, 1 run minus 3 yards. And Foreman, 6 rushes for minus 6 yards. On to the Chicago receivers. DJ Moore, 4 catches, 52 yards on 8 targets, 13 yards per catch. Scott, 3 catches, 49 yards on 4 targets, 16.3 per grab. Roschon Johnson, 4 for 24 on 6 targets, 6 yards per catch. Cole Kmet, 5 catches, 23 yards and a TD on 7 targets at 4.6 yards per catch. Darnell Mooney, 2 for 14 yards, 8 targets, 7 yards per catch. Khalil Herbert, 1 catch, 4 yards on his only target. Jones and Tanyan both had a target in this game, neither recorded a catch. Cairo Santos, 1 for 1 on field goals. His lone attempt was 41 yards, 2 for 2 on extra points. Gill with 10 punts. He averaged 44.8 yards per. His longest punt was 56, with 1 touchback and 2 inside the 20-yard line. Okay, the Bears defense was led by Gordon. He had 6 tackles. Tremaine Edmonds, 5 tackles, pass defense, interception, and a touchdown. Montez Sweat, 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. Very good game from him. Brisker, 4 tackles, 1 pass defense. Stevenson, 4 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. Johnson, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Eddie Jackson, 3 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. Walker, 2 tackles, half a sack as well. Jones with 2. There's 2 Jay Jones on this team, and they both had 2 tackles. Smith had 2 tackles and a pass defense for the Chicago Bears. All right, total yards. Browns 377, Bears 236. Passing yards 348 to 148 for Cleveland. Rushing yards 88 to 29 for Chicago. Time of possession, Browns 31 minutes, Bears 29 minutes. First downs 14 for the Browns, 12 for the Bears. Neither team was good on third down, 25% or less for both. The Bears were 4 for 18 and the Browns were 4 for 16. Fourth downs, Chicago 0 for 2, Cleveland 1 for 1. The Bears had 4 penalties for 19 yards. They were sacked 3 times, losing 18, with 1 lost fumble and 2 interceptions. The Browns had 9 penalties for 48 yards. They were sacked 4 times for 31. No fumbles lost, 3 interceptions, and there were a bunch of punts in this game, 19 in total, 10 by the Bears and 9 by the Browns. Closing line was Cleveland minus 2.5, and the over-under is 38.5. And they barely missed the total by that much. I hit Cleveland straight up and against the spread, so I won both those picks. Now I'm 4-2 straight up, 3-2-1 ATS. Next, we'll move on to the Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Another overtime game. In fact, the Browns and Bears did not go to overtime, but this game did. Houston won 19-16, by the way, and stay in the running for not only a wild card spot in the AFC, but also the AFC South title. And it's getting pretty crowded atop that division with 3 weeks left. Okay. Individual numbers for the Texans. Case Keenum, who got the start over the injured CJ Stroud, 23 of 36, 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 79.5 Q rating. Davis Mills, for some reason, shows up on the stat sheet, but didn't record anything. Devin Singletary, one of his best games as a Texan, 26 rushes, 121 yards on 4.7 per run. Ogunbowale, 1 rush, 17 yards. Hutchinson, 1 rush, 5 yards. Pierce, 1 rush, 3 yards. Sims, 1 rush, 1 yard. And Case Keenum ran twice for 1 yard. On to the Texans receivers. Nico Brown, 8 for 82 yards and a touchdown on 11 targets, 10.3 yards per catch. Dalton Schultz, 4 for 58 on 5 targets for 14 points per catch. The aforementioned Devin Singletary also had a hand in the passing game, 4 catches, 49 yards on 5 targets at 12.3 per catch. Robert Woods, 3 for 30 yards on 5 targets and an even 10 yards per grab. Jordan, 1 catch, 14 yards on his only target. Mechie, 1 catch for a yard on his only target. Sims, 1 catch for no gain and 1 target. Hutchinson had 3 targets in the game, no catches. Ogunbowale, 1 target in the game, no catches. And Beck, 1 catch, -5 yards on 1 target. Fairbairn, 4 for 4 on field goals. Longest was 54, and 1 for 1 on extra points. Johnston, 6 punts at 46.7 per punt. His longest was 56, 3 punts inside the 20. All right, Denzel Perryman. All right, so Denzel Perryman and Christian Harris led Houston defense with 7 tackles apiece. King with 6 tackles and a sack. Barnett, 3 tackles and a sack. Sheldon Rankins, 3 tackles. Grenard, 2 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. Collins, 2 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Davis, 2 tackles and a sack. Nelson, 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception for the Texans. For the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, 17 of 26, 199. No touchdowns, 1 interception, 72.4 QB rating. Tyjae Spears, 9 rushes, 30 yards, led the Titans' ground attack. Will Levis, 4 rushes, 25 yards, and a TD on the ground. Spears averaged 3.3 per run, Levis 6.3. Derrick Henry, 16 rushes, but just 9 yards. That's 0.6 yards per run. And Treylon Burks, 1 rush, 2 yards. So not much to talk about running the ball for the Houston Texans. Now to the receivers. The aforementioned Treylon Burks, 3 catches, 62 yards on 3 targets at 20.7 yards per catch. Moore, 3 for 39 yards on 4 tackles, or 4 targets rather, and 13 a catch. Okonkwo, 3 catches, 36 yards on 3 targets at 12 per catch. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, 1 catch on 2 targets for 33 yards. DeAndre Hopkins was limited to 2 catches for 21 yards on 9 targets at 10.5 per catch. Tyjae Spears, 1 catch, 7 yards on his only target. And Derrick Henry, 4 catches for 1 yard on 4 targets. Nick Folk, 1 for 1 on field goals. His only attempt was 45 yards. 1 for 2 on extra points. Zentner, in for the injured Ryan Stonehouse at the Titans punter. He had 8 punts, 45.3 yards per punt. Longest was 58 with 1 touchback and 1 punt inside the 20. All right. Hooker led the Tennessee defense with 8 tackles. Al-Shahir, 7 tackles. McCreary, 7 tackles and a pass defense. Landry, 5 tackles. Wallace, 4 tackles and 2 passes defense. Autry, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. Gibbons, Weaver, and Avery with 3 tackles apiece. Gerard, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Molden, 3 tackles, 2 passes defense, an interception, and a touchdown on defense for the Tennessee Titans. Total yards, Houston 340, Tennessee 204. All right, passing and rushing both favored the Texans. Passing yards was 192 to 138 for Houston. Rush yards is 148 to 66, all favoring Houston. Time of possession, Texans 6 minutes 32 seconds. Titans 33 minutes 28 seconds. All right, first downs, 21 for the Texans and 14 for the Titans. Third downs, 4 for 15 for Houston, 5 for 15 for Tennessee. Both teams 1 for 1 on 4th down. The Texans finished with 8 penalties for 67 yards. They were sacked 4 times for 37. No lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 6 punts. And the Titans, 5 penalties, 50 yards. They were sacked 7 times for 61. No fumbles lost, 1 interception, and 8 punts. Closing line was Tennessee -3. Over-under was 38. And this game also just missed that total by a handful. All right, so I had 2 different picks for this game. I picked the Texans to win if Stroud played. Obviously, since he didn't, I ended up going with the Titans. And I went Houston with the points if CJ Stroud played. But since he didn't, I took Tennessee -2.5. So I ended up losing both those picks as a result. All right. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs at the New England Patriots. Patrick Mahomes had never lost 3 games in a row. And Sunday, he was not going to start as Kansas City wins this one 27-17. So we'll look at individual numbers for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, 27 of 37, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 INTs, and a 92.7 QB rating. Jerick McKinnon, he's a running back for the Chiefs. He attempted his only pass, or he completed his only pass for 4 yards and a touchdown, and closed with a QB rating of 122.9. McKinnon added 11 yards rushing on 4 attempts at 2.8 yards per run. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 13 for 37, also on 2.8 per run. Patrick Mahomes, 3 rushes, minus 5 yards. Again, no Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City. Rashee Rice led the Chiefs receivers, 9 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets, 10.1 yards per catch. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 4 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets, 16 yards per catch. Gray with 2 catches, 37 yards on 2 targets, 18.5 per grab. Watson, 1 catch on 3 targets for 31. Travis Kelce, 5 catches, only 28 yards on 7 targets, 5.6 per catch. The aforementioned McKinnon, 3 catches, 19 yards, and a receiving touchdown on 3 targets, 6.3 yards per grab. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Ricky James both had 1 catch for 17 yards, and both had just the 1 target. Kadarius Toney was quiet, 2 catches, 5 yards on 4 targets, 2.5 per catch. Bell had 1 target in the game, no catches. On to special teams. Harrison Butker, 2 for 3 on field goals. Longest was 54, 3 for 3 on extra points. Tommy Townsend, 4 punts at 49 yards per punt. Longest was 61, and 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. On defense, L'Jarius Sneed, 8 tackles, 2 passes defense, leading the Kansas City defensive charge. Reed with 6 tackles. Nick Bolton with 4 tackles. Connor with 3 tackles. Watson, 2 tackles and a sack. 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. Nandi, 2 tackles and a sack. Jones, 2 tackles and a defense. Edwards, 1 tackle. Chanel, 1 tackle, 1 pass defense for the Chiefs. Now to the New England Patriots. Bailey Zappi, 23 of 31, 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 5.4 QB rating. All right, so this is Kevin Harris. Okay, leading rusher was Kevin Harris. 4 rushes, 25 yards, and a touchdown, 6.3 per run. Ezekiel Elliott, 11 rushes, 25 yards, limited to 2.3 per run. And Zappi with 1 rush for 2. All right, Patriots receivers led by Hunter Henry, 7 catches, 66 yards, and a TD on 9 targets at 9.4 per catch. Devontae Parker, 544 on 5 targets, 8.8 per catch. Demario Douglas, 3 catches, 33 yards, 5 targets, 11 yards per catch. Zeke had 5 grabs for 21 on 6 targets, 4.2 per catch. Mike Gesicki, 1 catch, 7 yards, 2 targets. Thornton, 1 catch, 5 yards on his only target. Brown, 1 catch, 4 yards on his only target. No catches for Jalen Reagor, but he had 2 targets in the game. Chad Ryland, 1 for 2 on field goals. The 1 field goal he made was from 25 yards, and 2 for 2 on extra points. Behringer, 6 punts at 48 yards per. Longest was 64, and 1 punt inside the 20. Okay. Duggar, Peppers, and Jennings each led the New England Patriots defense with 5 tackles each. Christian Barmore, 4 tackles and a sack. Bryant, 4 tackles. Bentley, 3 tackles. Austin, 3 tackles. Jalen Mills, 2 tackles and a forced fumble. Tavai, 2 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Guy, 2 tackles, and Jones. I think that's Jonathan Jones. Let me check real quick. Yep, Jonathan Jones. I was right. He had 2 tackles and a pass defense for the Patriots. Total yards, 326 for the Chiefs, 206 for the Patriots. Passing yards, 283 to 154, near 2-1 edge to Kansas City. Rush yards is 52 to 43 for New England. So, truth be told, neither team ran the ball all that well in this game. Time of possession, 31 minutes, 14 seconds for KC. 28 minutes, 46 seconds for New England. The Chiefs had 19 first downs versus 10 for the Patriots. And neither team not good on third down. 5 of 13 for the Chiefs, but 2 for 12 for the Patriots. That's not good. Fourth downs, Kansas City 0 for 1 and New England 1 for 2. There were not a lot of penalties on either side in this game. 2 penalties, 15 yards for the Chiefs. They were sacked 3 times for 26 with no lost fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 4 punts. 5 penalties and 45 yards for the Patriots. They were sacked 4 times also for 26 with no fumbles lost, 1 interception thrown, and 6 punts. Closing line was Kansas City minus 10.5. Your over-under was 39.5. I took Kansas City straight up, but I took New England with the points. So now I'm 5-3 straight up and 3-4-1 ATS. Moving right along here, the New Orleans Saints hammered the New York Giants 24-6 down in the Superdome. We'll start with individual numbers for the Saints. Derek Carr, 23 of 28, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns, interceptions, 134.8 passer rating. Probably his best game as a Saint. Taysom Hill, 1 attempt, no completions, and a 39.6 quarterback rating. Leading rusher was Alvin Kamara, 16 for 66 yards on 4.1 per run. And that would be Jamal Williams right behind him. 8 rushes, 24 yards, 3 per run. Taysom Hill, 1 rush, 1 yard. Derek Carr, 3 rushes for -4. All right, so Kamara led the rush attack for the Saints. He was also the top receiver for the Saints. 5 catches, 44 yards on 5 targets, 8.8 yards per catch. Johnson, 2 for 38 and a touchdown on 2 targets. Rashid Shaheed, 3 for 36 on 4 targets, 12 yards per catch. A.T. Perry, 2 catches, 34 yards on 2 targets, 17 per catch. Bowden, 3 for 31 on 5 targets at 10.3. Moreau, 13 on 5 targets at 4.3. Jimmy Graham, 2 catches, 9 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets at 4.5 per catch. Kirkwood, 1 grab, 7 yards, and a touchdown on his only target, so he made it count. Taysom Hill, 1 catch, 4 yards on his only target. And Jamal Williams, 1 catch for 2 on his lone target. Group B, 1 for 1 on field goals. Only attempt from 50. And 3 for 3 on extra points. Headley, 4 punts, averaging 41.8 yards. Longest is 47. 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Davis had 8 tackles and 1 sack to lead the Saints defense. Pasagnon Had 5 tackles and 3 sacks. Good day for him. Taylor, 4 tackles. Warner, 3 tackles. Howden, 3 tackles. Tyrann Mathieu, 3 tackles. Shepard, 3 tackles. Yiadom, 2 tackles, 3 passes defense. Granderson with 2 tackles. Reese with 2 tackles. Saunders, 2 tackles, and a pass defense for the Saints. Now we can talk about the Giants. Tommy DeVito, the Italian stallion as he's known, 20 of 34 for 177 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 72.8 QB rating. Tyrod Taylor, 2 of 4 for 13 and a 57.3 passer rating. He also had no touchdowns or INTs throwing the ball. DeVito, 4 rushes for 36 yards, led New York's ground attack at 9 yards per run. Saquon Barkley was held to 9 carries, 14 yards at 1.6 per run. And Matt Breida, 3 rushes, 10 yards on 3.3 per run. Darius Slayton led the Giants receivers with 4 catches for 63 yards on 8 targets, 15.8 yards per catch. Darren Waller, 4 catches, 40 yards on 6 targets, 10 per grab. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 for 25 on 4 targets, 6.3. Saquon, 2 for 23 on 2 targets, 11.5. Bellinger, 2 for 13 on 2 targets at 6.5 per grab. Breida, 2 for 11 on 3 targets, 5.5 per catch. Cager, 1 catch, 9 yards on his only target. Gray, 3 catches, 6 yards on 4 targets. No catches for Hodgins. He was targeted once. And no catches for Hyatt. He was thrown to 3 times. Okay. Bullock, 1 for 1 on field goals. No extra points. Longest field goal was 56. Gillum, that's the punter. He was also 1 for 1 on field goals, connecting from 40 and no extra points. Gillen also punted the ball 5 times, averaging 47.6 yards, 53 is his length, and 1 punt inside the 20. On to the defense. Robinson and Pennick, 7 tackles each. Pennick added a sack as well. McFadden, 5 tackles. Jackson, 3 tackles. McKinney, 3 tackles. Deontay Banks, 3 tackles. Ojulari, 2 tackles. Flott, 2 tackles. Okereke, 2 tackles. And Coughlin with 2 tackles for the Giants. Total yards, 296 for the Saints, 193 for the Giants. Passing yards, 209 to 133 for New Orleans. Rush yards is 87 to 60, also to New Orleans. Time of possession, Saints 33 minutes, 27 seconds. Giants 26 minutes and 33 seconds. 20 first downs for New Orleans versus 12 for the Giants. Here's the reason. Here's one of the reasons why the Giants lost. They were 2 of 16 on 3rd down, while the Saints were 6 of 12. The Saints had no 4th downs, but New York converted out of 5. Giants with 5 penalties, 32 yards. They were at 7 times for 57. Ouch. No fumbles lost or interceptions thrown, and 5 punts. And the Saints 6 penalties, 58 yards, sacked once for 9. No fumbles lost, no interceptions thrown, and 4 punts. Closing line, New Orleans -6, over under 39.5. I picked the Saints straight up, but took the Giants with the points. So again, I split those picks. 6-3 is my straight up record at this point. 3-5-1 is my ATS record. So yeah, my ATS is not good this year. All right. What about New York's other team, the Jets? They were shut out in Miami by Tua and the Dolphins, 30-0. So we're going to start with the Dolphins' individual numbers. Tua Tagovailoa, near perfect day, 21 of 24 for 224 with 1 touchdown and no interceptions and a 119.4 QB rating. Mike White, 2 for 2 for 4 yards and a 79.2 passer rating. Leading rusher was Raheem Mostert, 15 for 4 yards and 2 scores, 2.8 yards per run. Devin Achane, 9 for 32 yards on 3.6 per run. Wilson, 2 for 5 yards, 2.5 per run. Mike White, 2 for -2 yards. All right, and the Dolphins did play this game without Tyreek Hill, but Jalen Waddle had himself a day. 8 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets, 17.8 yards per catch. Smythe, 4 for 32 on 4 targets, 8 yards per catch. Achane, 3 for 30 yards on 3 targets at 10 per catch. Braxton Berrios, the former New York Jets, 1 catch, 12 yards on his only target. Chase Claypool, 2 catches, 8 yards on 2 targets at 4 per catch. Cedric Wilson, 2 catches, 2 yards on 3 targets. Raheem Mostert, 2 catches for a yard, I should say, on 2 targets. And then the other Wilson, this would be Jeff Wilson, not Cedric Wilson. 1 catch, 1 yard on 2 targets. All right, Saunders, 3 for 3 on field goals, longest is 37, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Bailey with 4 punts at 35.8 per punt, longest is 42, 3 of his punts inside the 20. Very impressive. Although the numbers aren't impressive, 3 out of 4 punts inside the 20-yard line is. Bradley Chubb, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles, led the Dolphins defense. Then you've got Jones with 5 tackles, 2 passes defense, and not 1 but 2 interceptions. Riley, 4 tackles, half a sack, and a pass defense. Eli Apple, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Campbell, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Then Ginkgo, 2 tackles, half a sack, 1 pass defense. Wilkins tackles, half a sack. And 1 tackle, 1 sack, and a pass defense for this Miami Dolphins front. For the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, ugly numbers there, 4 of 11 for 26 yards, 44.9 QB rating with no TDs or INTs. And then you got Trevor Siemian, 14 of 26 for 110, no touchdowns and 2 picks, and a very poor QB rating of 32.5. Breece Hall held to 12 yards on 6 rushes. That's 2 for run if you're doing the math. Abanikanda, 8 yards, also on 2 per run. Dalvin Cook ran only once for 4 yards. And Davis, 1 rush, -1 yard. Not much to speak of with the receivers either. Garrett Wilson, 3 catches for 29 yards on 4 targets, 9.7 per catch. Gibson, 2 for 29 on 6 targets, 14.5 per catch. Allen Lazard, 3 for 21 on 6 targets at 7 per catch. Conklin, 4 for 18 on 7 targets, 4.5 per catch. Ruckert, 2 for 16 on catch. Abanikanda, 2 for 11 yards on 2 targets, 5.5 per catch. Breece Hall, 1 catch, 6 yards on 2 targets. Dalvin Cook, 1 catch, 6 yards on 1 target. Randall Cobb, no targets on 3 targets. All right. So there are no place-kicking numbers for the Jets, unfortunately. Morstead had 5 punts, averaging 53.4 yards. His longest was 59. On defense, C.J. Mosley had 5 tackles, CJ Mosley had 5 tackles. Carter also had 5 tackles. Whitehead, 4 tackles. There are 2. Q Williams. This is probably Quinnen. Nope, this is Quincy. Okay, Quincy Williams had 4 tackles and a pass defense. Quinnen Williams, meanwhile, had 2 tackles and half a sack. Davis, 4 tackles. Reed with 3 tackles and a pass defense. Johnson, Adams, and Sherwood each with 3 tackles. And I mentioned Quinnen Williams. Thomas, 2 tackles and a sack for the Jets. Total yards, 290 for the Dolphins and 103 for the New York Jets. That's it, 103. Passing yards favored Miami, 213-80. Rushing yards also favored Miami, 77-23. Time of possession, Dolphins 36-21, Jets 23-39. First down, 16 for the Dolphins, 11 for the Jets. Third downs, New York 5 of 13, Miami 6 of 15. Fourth downs, Jets 0 for 2, Dolphins 2 for 2. All right, 16 total penalties in this game, 7 by the Jets for 55 yards. They were sacked 6 times, losing 56. Couple fumbles lost, couple interceptions thrown, and 5 punts. The Dolphins had 9 penalties for 65 yards. They were sacked 3 times, losing 15. No lost fumbles or interceptions, and 4 punts. Closing line, Miami -7, over under 35.5. They covered that number with ease. I took the Dolphins straight up, so now I'm 7-3 in that area. But I took the Jets with the points for some strange reason because I thought this game was going to be. And once again, the Dolphins beat them up. So now I'm 3-6-1 in my ATS picks. And then the last game we'll look at here in part 2. Bay Buccaneers go into Lambeau and upset the Packers 34-20 as Tampa Bay stays alive in that crowded race for the NFC South. Start with the individual numbers for the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, or as Mitch on BLV calls him, Baker the commercial maker. 22 of 28, 381 yards, very impressive. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a perfect QB rating of 158.3. Easily one of his best games. Okay, Rachaad White, 21 rushes, 89 yards on 4.2 per run, paced Tampa Bay's ground attack. Is that Chase Edmonds? Well, that is Chase Edmonds. 3 rushes, 13 yards on 4.3. Tompkins, 1 rush, -1. Baker, 2 rushes for -2. Now about Chris Godwin. Have yourself a day, son. 10 catches, 155 yards on 12 targets, 15.5 per catch. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. Okay, here's David Moore. 2 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets at 34 per catch. Mike Evans, 4 for 57 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 14.3 per catch. Rachaad White, 2 catches, 50 yards, and you guessed it, he also caught a touchdown pass in this game on 2 targets, 25 yards per catch. Cade Otton, OTTON, 2 catches, 44 yards on 2 targets, 22 yards per catch. Palmer, 1 catch, 5 yards on 2 targets. Cole Kift, 1 catch, 2 yards, and a touchdown on his only target. So he made that 1 catch count. Chase McGlynn, 2 for 2 on field goals, longest is 46, 4 for 4 on extra points. Camarda, 1 punt, that's it, for 65 yards, and it landed inside the 20. So he made good use of that 1 punt. Antoine Winfield, 8 tackles and 1 forced fumble, led the Tampa Bay defense. Lavonte David, 7 tackles, half a sack, and a pass defense. Eisen, 5 tackles. Brett, 3 tackles. Delaney, 3 tackles. Dean, 3 tackles. Nelson, 2 tackles and a sack. McCollum, 2 tackles and a pass defense. For the Packers, Jordan Love, 29 of 39, 284, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 115.5 QB rating. So truth be told, both QBs threw the ball well. All right. Big bad Aaron Jones, 13 rushes, 53 yards, 4.1 per run. Taylor, 1 rush, 6 yards. Jordan Love, 2 rushes for a single yard. And Drake, no yards on his 1 rush attempt. On to the Packers receivers. Don Wicks, 6 catches, 97 yards, 7 targets, 16.2 per catch, led the Green Bay receivers. Kraft, 4 catches, 57 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 14.3 a catch. Reed, 6 catches, 52 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets, 8.7 per grab. Romeo Doubs, 3 for 30 yards on 3 targets at 10 per catch. Heath, 3 for 29 on 3 targets, 9.7 per catch. Aaron Jones, 4 catches, 16 yards on 4 targets at 4 per catch. Melton, 1 catch, 2 targets, 7 yards. Sims, 1 target, no catches. And Taylor, 2 catches, minus 4 yards on 2 targets. Anders Carlson, 2 for 2 on field goals. Longest was 36, 2 for 2 on extra points. Whelan, 2 punts, 47 per punt. Longest is 51 and 1 inside the 20. On to the defense. Owens had 7 tackles leading the way for the Packers. Campbell had 5 tackles. Ford with 4 tackles and a pass defense. Valentine, same numbers, 4 tackles and a pass defense. Walker, 3 tackles. Slayton, 3 tackles. Van Ness, 3 tackles and a sack. Clark, 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and a pass defense. Wyatt, 3 tackles and a sack. And Nagbar, 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble for Green Bay. Total yards, 452 for the Bucks, 321 for the Packers. Passing is 353 to 261 for Tampa. Rushing also favored Tampa, 99 to 60. Time of possession, Packers 30 minutes, 53 seconds. Buccaneers 29 minutes and 7 seconds. First downs, Tampa Bay 22, Green Bay 18. And both did pretty well on third down. 7 of 11 for the Bucks, 6 of 12 for the Packers. Fourth downs, 1 for 1 Tampa Bay, 0 for 2 Green Bay. Bucks had 4 penalties for 52 yards. They were sacked 5 times for 28. 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and only 1 punt. And the Packers had 4 penalties as well for 31 yards. They were sacked twice for 23. 1 fumble loss, no interceptions, and 2 punts. So not a lot of punting going on in that game. Closing line was Green Bay -4 over under 41.5. I picked the Packers both straight up and against the spread, and you can pretty much guess how that went. So through the Sunday afternoon early games, I am 7-4 in my straight up picks, 3-7-1 ATS. And that's going to do it for part 2 of this week 15 edition of the week that was. Join me a little bit later as we'll take a look at the rest of the week 15 schedule, the 3 late games. The Cowboys at the Bills, the 49ers at the Cardinals, and the Commanders at the Rams. We'll also look at Sunday night football with the Ravens and Jaguars, and the Monday night football with the Eagles and Seahawks. Plus, my Week 16 power rankings will be released, and we'll look at the current picture going into Week 16. That's coming up in Part 3, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.